there's so much around trust, and I just wanted to make another example of that. As I feel myself deepen in trust in our relationship, I also open up much more sexually. So I thought I was sexually open before, and I thought I could enjoy sex before, but the more deeply I trust Rod, then the more deeply I go into sexual ecstasy, the more deeply I go into my orgasmicness, the more deeply I can surrender. Because if I'm not trying to exert my control and have my way in our life, around the house, around business, then equally, if I can open up and trust him in the rest of our life, then I open up so much more sexually as well. It's certainly well worth it to go to that place of deeper trust. And in me, there's something in vulnerability, and I know we've both mentioned vulnerability a number of times today. There's something in vulnerability that is so sweet and so powerful, and nothing can replace that. That's the place where two people do go into sacred union together. So on that note, I guess we'll open up for questions now.
Yes.
Awesome. That's true. Justine.
Yep.
Okay, so if you have a question, we do have a couple of requests around questions. Let's have your questions be something that is directly applicable to your life. I know that sometimes people ask generic or hypothetical questions, and it's just to satisfy the mind's curiosity. What I would really love is for you to ask questions that can actually serve you, because myself and Rod, we are deeply committed to being of service to people. And so the best way to do that is by you asking something that's personal and of value to you. So on that note, anybody with a question?
Hi, I just wanted to know how you guys navigate your relationship when he's choosing to be in his feminine and you're choosing to be in your masculine.
Yeah, sure. Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah.
It's actually really easy. Like in that moment, like it's through awareness. We had a really good example once. We were obviously, like I've never spent a lot of time in Melbourne. Martina mentioned it before. So we were driving somewhere and we didn't have the GPS thingy going. And you can't start it once you're driving. So she was navigating. And I recognized in that moment that I was like, there was that desire rising up into me to like, well, what about this? What do you do? And what do you think about that? To sort of, and she's directing me where to go. And I recognized, I actually have to choose just to relax right now, that part of myself, and surrender and trust her direction. And just to let go of what is actually, the desire for me and my body to direct or to lead. And just surrender into that place of, I guess just accept that and trust that she's got this, and just letting go. Does that answer your question?
Kind of, but I was also curious about in the bedroom, how you navigate that. Because obviously we have both polarities in ourselves and both dark and light. And so, I just wanted to know how you guys navigate that and find a place of trust in that one.
Consciously, through consent, and playfully. So like there's a great, like it seems really boring and methodical, but consent's a beautiful thing to actually create that container, to actually sit down and discuss like, hey babe, I wouldn't mind being tied up, and maybe you could do this or do that, and I'd like to experience this, and how about one of those? And what that does is that creates the space then that, for that experience or whatever's happening, that she is going to hold that masculine space. I'm going to surrender and let go and be in a more feminine space. But it's the communication and the awareness that creates the space for that to actually take place. And that's a great place to start. It can flow and happen organically, But basically, it's through awareness of each of us knowing where we're at, where we're actually going, and what's happening at the actual time. But it's the place to start is with the conversation and consent, to have the experience, to build the trust through the experience. Yeah.
And I think for both of us, my deepest desire is feminine expression, and Rod's deepest desire is the masculine expression. So if we do have times where Rod's in his feminine and I'm in my masculine, then following on from those times, to make a really clear distinction back to the polarity that we want to be in, so that we have that sense of like that part of the journey being complete and contained. Because I think this is where the tricky territory for people is that people become a little bit androgynous in their relating and fall into that vanilla place where nobody's particularly masculine, nobody's particularly feminine. So I think making those switches needs to be done consciously, with the commitment to going back to what it is that we want to hold as the foundational texture of our relationship.